Hello and welcome to episode 8 of the Chronicles, with us, the Red Devil Chronicle. My name's Andy.
My name's Nick.
And this week, more players are heading out of Old Trafford than coming in. Whose fault's that? Is it Ed Woodward or is it Adidas? We're going to discuss that next on United Chat. Well, it feels like it's been a while, doesn't it? 2 weeks since we last recorded, and yet nothing has happened. Well, seemingly so.
Pretty depressing, if we're being honest.
So we're going to start off the United Chat with this ridiculous rumour, frankly. We're probably going to disregard it in a moment, but it's worth a mention. Does anybody genuinely believe that the Adidas contract is stopping United from announcing new signings? That's what we're going to go with first of all. And on this week's United Chat, we're going to talk to producer Joe, as well as myself and Nick getting our opinion, because there's not enough to talk about for the shootout this week, unfortunately. So, Joe, welcome to the United Chat for the first time.
No, you've completely discredited me there. You've got rid of my whole link.
I have. Only for 1 week, hopefully. We just need something to talk about, basically.
Wow.
But let's get some thoughts first of all. We'll go with you on this first of all, Nick, and welcome back.
Thank you.
The Adidas contract, is that seriously stopping United making new signings?
No, you'd have to be pretty stupid to believe it. What I'm questioning in the first place is how we've not paid Nike off anyway, so we can wear them for pre-season. We've got to wear the Nike kits for pre-season whilst we tour America. We come home, and then I think the Adidas kits kick in on the 1st of August.
That's right, yeah. So basically someone cocked up at Old Trafford and didn't pay off Nike.
I suspect it was Ed.
You're
probably
very harsh towards Ed, aren't you?
Even
the Twitter page, it's completely just a...
We'll talk about this later, but I've got a few issues with him. I'm sure Andy has as well.
Yeah, let's talk more about the Adidas thing before we move on to Ed and slate him further. But I'm just asking, first of all, on this, if the Adidas signing's that big a deal, would it not have intervened in the Depay signing?
I think the Depay signing answered the questions of that rumour.
I mean, that was only finalised.
He was holding up a Nike kit. You know, apparently he's got a press conference on Friday. We're recorded on Thursday nights. He's going to be unveiled officially then, and he's going to meet the press for the first time. But no, I don't think the Adidas deal's hampering the signings. I think United are hampering the signings.
Absolutely. I don't think there's anything stopping Adidas doing a new kit launch with new United signings. I mean, that surely is commercially viable and beneficial and as exciting. New players coming in, here's our new kit.
It's an interesting point to see if they actually are blocking it. I mean, come 1st of August, if it has been the case, then we'll know, won't we? So, I mean, it's a bit of a waiting game to see if it is Adidas, isn't it?
Adidas are pumping a lot of money into United over quite a long period. 10 years, I think 75 million in
750 million total,
yeah. So they're pumping a lot of money into the club. We've got a lot of players who are probably Adidas sponsored anyway. A lot of players coming into the club will be Adidas sponsored. So I don't think it's going to be really upset them that much if we wait an extra few weeks to sign players and they parade around in a Nike kit for the time being.
Well, there you go. That's our thoughts on Adidas. We've cleared that up and swept it under the carpet pretty quickly. It's ridiculous. Let's move on to the real reason why United aren't bringing new players in, and Joe's just mentioned it. Ed Woodward. He's the main reason for me that we're not buying players.
Yeah. We see a lot of vines on Twitter and other social medias of Ed Woodward throwing money at things. Ed Woodward seems to be worshipped, and I just want to question what he's actually done. Di Maria, Madrid wanted to get rid. It wasn't like he snatched him out of the hands when they were desperate to keep him. He wanted to come. It wasn't like he pulled a massive deal off. This summer he signed an up and coming winger from a Dutch club. He signed a mid-table Serie A team right back. He's not exactly blown us away for the last 2 years.
Well, Darmian might not have even been confirmed yet, which we'll get into a bit further on. Yeah. But, I mean, Joe, you said we give Ed a lot of stick. I mean, are you not blaming him for the reason that United have got such a lack of signings coming in this summer?
I mean, you've got to look at it, haven't you? But you can't put all of the blame on one person. I mean, you've still got a manager in Louis van Gaal. He's surely got to be making his own decisions in a way. Yes, Ed's got more decisions, but you've got to look at the whole structure of United and say, why is it not happening overall?
Ed Woodward took over from David Gill. When we had David Gill in charge, we'd be linked with a player on the Monday night and we'd sign him by the Wednesday. It was really efficient, really quick, everything was easy. Both clubs agreed a fee as click of a finger. Now everything seems to be haggling, seems to be trying to get the cheapest price possible.
Is that not modern football?
No, I think it's not modern football. I think if you look at Chelsea will go out and buy a player. City will go out and buy a player.
Chelsea's business last summer was especially brilliant.
Second to
Fabregas
none.
and Diego Costa were done within
even
a
look in
couple of
the
weeks.
January, the winter window. It was you got Cuadrado coming in.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it didn't work out as well, but they got the business done quickly. Is the point?
They don't argue about the fees. We argue about the fees, and this stems back to the Glazers. I don't think we're as wealthy as everyone makes out. I don't think they're as forthcoming with the money as everyone makes out. Yeah, we make significant amount of money through commercial advertising and other things, but are they really that generous to Ed and his budget?
Can I just pick up on this? Because I want to give the Glazers a quick mention here, with you just bringing them up.
Yeah.
We were saying about how much credit Woodward gets for flashing the cash round in all these vines, etc., on social media. And during this time, the Glazers get all the stick for it. Now, whose money is Ed Woodward chasing this 150 million, 200 million budget round with? It's the Glazers' money. And let me just say, how is that money coming in, right? I understand United fans' initial problem with the Glazers because they didn't buy the club. They bought it against debt.
Plunge it into debt.
Exactly. But that debt is being repaid, obviously
still over
slowly.
300
Slowly but
million,
surely.
though, isn't
It is,
Yeah.
but it's nearly half gone now. Can I just mention, though, a couple of sponsorship deals that have given United the sort of money they have? The Chevrolet deal, first of all, might not like the gold on the United shirt, but at the end of the day, that's £191 million being brought in. Adidas, as we mentioned, £750 million deal. Aon bought our training ground naming rights for £160 million. This is ridiculous. These are American companies in Chevrolet.
Do you ever think Ed's not
and
just,
Aon.
he's just a businessman, not a football
He
man?
is. He's, at the end of the day, he's just an accountant. That's all he is. A very good one, but I don't think he's the right man to be going out there. And I think the Glazers get all this stick when, at the end of the day, they have turned us into a commercial global power again. The club has become the first $1 billion rather.
Yeah, no, I can
company
understand
out
what
there
you're
in
saying,
terms
but
of
I
football.
think that again stems to Ed Woodward rather than the Glazers. I think the Glazers are purely money men. They pay each other. There's about 15 of them, I think, on the board. It's ridiculous. There's cousins, brothers, uncles, aunties, Glazers. You know, ones that you'd never even heard of that award themselves a vast amount of money every year for doing absolutely nothing.
At the end of the day, though, I mean, I understand that part of it's wrong, but they have made United commercially massive again. They brought in a lot of money for the club for us to go and splash the cash, and they're running the club the way it should be run, as a business.
Right. Well, today I was looking at Ed Woodward's signings since he come into power in 2013. We've signed obviously Fellaini, Mata, Shaw, Blind, Rocco Herrera, Valdez on a free, Depay and Di Maria. Give or take 10 million, it's around 235 million quid. Right? Out of there, that many players have told you, which one of them is genuinely world class right now?
There isn't one.
Yeah.
Is the answer.
If we compare that to the Madrid and Barcelonas of this world, I'll look at Madrid from 2013, that summer where Ed was in charge. They signed Carvajal, Isco, Iliramendi, Bale, Cruz, James, Navas, Hernandez on a loan deal, Lucas Silva, Danilo, Vasquez and Asienzo, who's some young Spanish player. How many out of them are world class?
Bale, certainly.
James?
Yep.
You'd have to argue Rodriguez from the World Cup, but then he went quiet when he came back to the club.
Tony Kroos is without a
Isco would walk into our team.
Midfielder. Yep. And
So
when you
there's-
look at Barcelona's as well, because Real Madrid spent 270, so they spent £35 million more on
Obviously,
those players.
I'm not taking into account who they've sold in that time. They sold Ozil. They've sold a few players here and there to balance it up.
Yeah.
But give or take, there's 4 or 5 players in that team that could walk into United right now.
Oh, without a doubt. And you look at Barcelona's as well, who've spent less than United since Woodward came in. Neymar's in there, Ter Stegen, Rakitic, Bravo, Suarez, Vermaelen. All, again, really good players. A lot of those would get into United's team again. So, is it, Joe, looking at that, because in my mind, though, when you look at the signings, it's atrocious business, really, from United. Are we just not going after the top-class players, or can we just not attract them anymore?
I wouldn't say we couldn't attract them.
I don't think we can.
I think in the next few years, I think we'll be able to attract more players. But at the moment, yes, we've got a bit of a lapse of who we've brought in. But then again, you do look at it. It's not an awful signing list, is it? You've got Depay, you've got Rojo, Herrera, Di Maria. They're not bad players.
I think there's issues.
They may not be
with how attractive we are. Seriously.
Yeah, but can you say Di Maria is as good as
who else?
Rodriguez
Who else wanted Di Maria when we signed him?
It wasn't like it wasn't as if Real Madrid were trying to get rid of him. They weren't putting him in the window.
They were offering out.
As well have been.
Yeah, there wasn't a long queue of big clubs saying here's 60 million for Angel Di Maria. There wasn't a lot of clubs. It was us and probably Paris Saint-Germain who were in for him, and that was it. So I do have serious
Is
doubts.
that because they brought in players like Bale, though? Or
Definitely.
So,
They've
but
got to balance the
if
books.
Bale hadn't have gone to Real Madrid, would he still be in the squad? Yes.
But are we just buying second-hand parts from the bigger clubs whilst they strengthen?
Yeah, that's pretty well. I've just said a minute ago, I've got issues of how attractive we are now. You look at Toni Kroos, I think we were in for him. He chose to go to Real Madrid.
Yeah.
You know, you look at Neymar, we even linked with him. He chose to go to Barcelona. Bale, we bidded more than Madrid, and he's gone to Madrid.
We did everything apparently within our powers to get Bale.
Yeah, so there's a lot of issues at United at the moment. We're not attractive. People seem to think, we're not. These players do not want to come to us at the moment.
Well, let's talk about some players that potentially do and might be coming to Old Trafford, hopefully, if Woodward can get it sorted. Morgan Schneiderlin, update on him. So he was. There was a big press conference with Ronald Koeman earlier this week in which Schneiderlin was ill. But then we heard he was travelling on the tour with Southampton.
Yeah,
I believe since that's not happened.
I just want to mention, I put a tweet out there about 10 days ago saying the Schneiderlin move was miles away, and I got a lot of abuse for it. I think you had to back me up a few times saying he agrees the move's close, but it's not as close as everyone's saying.
Yeah.
A lot of people were saying you're an idiot, blah, blah, blah. The move, I think it was the Mirror that reported that he was going to sign on Wednesday. Wednesday flew by, Friday came, Friday flew by, nothing else has happened. He's gone on the tour. I don't think we've returned with a bid yet, if I'm being honest.
Well, that's what Koeman said on this. There was an initial offer made and rejected by United.
20 million, apparently.
Exactly. Now, Southampton are after 25. So
30.
30,
Some
is it?
reports, yeah, 30 million you want.
Okay. I mean, I'm just thinking, why would United go in with a £20 million bid if they're not willing to pay between 5 and 10 million more?
This is the issue we touched on a minute ago. We're cheap, we're stingy. That's what it seems to be. If this was Chelsea or this was City, they would just pay 30 million, they wouldn't argue, they'd get the player in and they'd get the quality signed up.
But is it not worth trying to save a bit of money and
not
maybe
if you're
reinvest
Manchester
it?
United in the situation we're in. We need to win something.
You've got a squad that needs a lot more than one player.
Yeah, we do.
So why not try and save a bit so you can
We've
afford...
got a lot more than 25, 30 million in terms of budget, though.
We do not have time to argue and haggle over 5 or 7 million. We need to go in and pay the money and get it over with.
Because what happens if Schneiderlin, in the meantime, if Wenger gets his wallet out, gets rid of the moths and goes and splashes out the money?
What if he goes to
them?
What if he goes to PSG to replace Kabay?
Yeah.
That's a genuine, serious concern now. He's French. He could go there, walk into the PSG team.
Is it that Schneiderlin's not the number one target for Van Gaal?
I think Schweinsteiger is, and I don't know why.
Is it being slowed down by interest in Schweinsteiger then?
I mean, you've got to look at what his other options are. If you strengthen a squad, you can't just throw one player at it and say, there you go. If you're going to bring a stronger player, there's no point in spending, triple the amount of money, including the deal with that, just to have another squad player for 30 million. You look at Rojo and Blind, both 15, 16 million. Yes, squad players, but is Schneiderlin worth?
Well, me and Andy both said back in May, the number one primary target this summer for us two would be Schneiderlin. The midfield has been an issue for years.
We got a good kick in for that as well of some people, I might add,
yeah,
for mentioning Schneiderlin.
And now everyone wants him.
Yeah, towards the end of the season, we started talking about Schneiderlin. People saying, why are you after Schneiderlin?
Because for market value and for Premier League experience, he's youthful, he's only 25.
I think people are coming round to it. I mean, you only have to watch the guy to understand how good he is.
We can't rely on Carrick next season.
Integral position for us, without a doubt.
Are we hiring him as a short-term option, though? Or
no, 5-year deal. That's what I'd give him.
It'd be a big one.
Yeah, he's 25, 5-year deal.
But do you think he's got the quality to see United through for 5 years?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Champions League?
Yeah. Absolutely.
I've watched him.
Minds,
I watched
certainly.
him a lot last season. He's brilliant. He's really consistent. He's a solid player. Good tackler. He's got pace. He's powerful. Good passer of the ball. I think he got 89% pass accuracy last season.
I'm not
only
arguing with you.
Carrick.
You've got to ask the questions. If he's not proven in Europe yet.
He isn't, but he's proven on the world
stage.
Yeah, absolutely. He's represented France a fair number of times, and France have a very good midfield as well. So to be getting in there,
the other issues I just wanted to quickly mention why I think this move is taking a while as well. I don't think Southampton are going to let him go until they've got a ready-made replacement lined up.
That could be an issue.
Because you think he's possibly their best player at the moment.
There aren't a lot of replacements.
They've already
out
lost
there.
2 of their 4 defenders from last season in Klein and Alderweireld.
You look at the season before what they lost, and when you said they were going to be the relegation, you don't know what they've got in line.
I can't see them finishing top 6 next season. I think
It's going to be a real struggle. They're
10
going
to
to have to
15.
invest very, very well
I mean, the
again.
Premier League's not going to be as unpredictable as it is for the next 10 years. It's going to. I mean, some structure's going to have to start.
It will start to iron out the top four.
And as things go, Chelsea are going to be the dominant force in that next 10-year period if we're not careful.
Again.
They have, absolutely. Now, just one other player we want to mention, just to give an update on, potentially coming in, or supposedly very close, depending on which paper you read. Matteo Darmian, who we mentioned, 4 or 5 weeks ago as potential alternative if Klein didn't come in.
Yeah.
Turned out we weren't in for Klein, so Darmian is supposed to be coming in. All sorts of reports going around that he's supposedly having a medical. He is an improvement on what we've currently got, so I've got no problem with it, and he was the signing I wanted. But Nick, you were saying to me earlier on when we were talking about this that someone has come out and said that the deal might not be as close as we thought.
It was actually in the car on the way here. I was just scrolling through Twitter as you do, and I saw a tweet from one of the sport things that we follow saying that the Torino president has come out and said he would dream to play for Man United, but it's not as close as everyone is saying at the moment. So that put me back in my seat a bit because I thought he was flying in for a medical on Monday.
Supposedly, yeah.
Obviously, this is Thursday night, so obviously by Monday he could be signed up. But
fingers crossed. I mean, he certainly, to me, looks a very good player from
we've
what I
had
have seen.
3 or 4 players like linked in that position coming to us, so
Yeah.
you never know if it's just another one.
I can't judge him. You know, it's not a signing I'm getting excited about. If I'm being honest, I've seen him play 3-4 times tops for Italy. I've not seen him play for Torino. I never watched them. It always makes me laugh where we get these experts on Twitter who say, "Oh, he's a brilliant player." I know all they've seen is YouTube clips.
Yeah.
You know, it's just stupid. You know, I'm not going to get excited about it. I look forward to watching him next season and seeing how good he actually is, but at this point in time, I'm not really bothered. It's just something better than what we've got in that position.
Absolutely.
I mean, he's not exactly the youngest player. He's not an investment.
He's what,
He's
25?
He is 25.
Yeah.
But
Plenty of years ahead of him.
Yeah.
5-7
How
years.
how does he rank up to even our temporary fix Valencia?
I don't know. This is the thing. I'm not getting excited over it because for all I know, he could be an absolute flop and he could be a squad player. So
I think he's more than that. I mean, I haven't seen a great deal more than you have of him, but what I have seen
you
of
not
him,
just seen the same as me for Italy?
I've probably seen him a little bit more for Italy from the conversation we had, but
Yeah.
I really like him. I think he's a definite improvement on Valencia, who did a
I
fantastic
like his
temporary
versatility.
job.
Don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
I like
right back, left back. You could even throw him in at centre back. That's how he started his career, so he could probably play there.
The only thing that worries me is Serie A is appalling. Some of the teams in that are really poor. I've watched.
Torino is one of them that's appalling, though.
What did he finish? 10th or 11th?
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
They're a poor team, though. I mean, I'm excited if he comes in. I think he's definitely
I'm
improvement.
not excited. I'm looking forward to it. That's all I can say.
I mean, do you think it's positive, that we're in the market for players at least that are in positions that we need strengthening?
Yeah, because I was worrying we're going to spend $35 million on Arda Turan a few weeks ago.
I know.
I'm glad he's gone to Barca. So yeah. We seem to have this habit of just buying attacking midfielders and the whole team just being number 10s. You know, and I saw something today where we could have Sergio Ramos in net at one point if we don't replace the goalkeeper situation. So it's quite worrying.
Yeah, I mean, it must be a positive as well for you, Joe. I mean, obviously you're advocating Ed more than we are, but it's nice to see United aren't just going for players in positions where we already are. Have a lot of strength. It's good to see the right back defensive midfield.
You've got to have some balance to how you look at United. You can't. It's easy to blame one person at the top, but you got to look at the structure underneath it and question all of it rather than just put the blame on one person.
Well, Van Gaal always said balance was a key issue with his team. But just a quick one to ask you two: where do you stand on the Ramos deal? Do you think we're getting him, or do you think he's using us?
I'd be surprised if we got him.
I'd be very surprised if we got him.
I mean, Ramos was an exciting prospect
The only way we'd get
him
is if we bid a stupid amount of money. That's the only way I think we'd get him.
Is it worth a stupid amount of money?
No, not at all. I'd rather have Otamendi. I'd rather have Ramos.
We know what Otamendi's price tag is as well.
Yeah, everyone knows how much he'll cost. Yeah. No one knows. I see 70 million, 90 million euro figures being quoted. I've seen 100 million euro figures being quoted for Ramos. Like, he's a 29-year-old centre back. Yeah, he's good, but be realistic.
Have your thoughts, please, on Twitter at WeFollowUnited on anything discussed within the United chat this week. But it's, as we say, it's good. United are actively looking at a number of key positions in the squad. One area, though, that's fallen out the spotlight recently is up front. So next up, we're going to have a quick chat through that with the fan takeover and some interesting news regarding Robin van Persie. Well, and it's fan takeover time, and after rumours appeared earlier this week on social media that Van Persie was on his way out, we took to Twitter to ask you if you wanted Van Persie to be sold. Now, obviously, the story's developing throughout the week, and it's looking ever more likely that Van Persie is on his way to Fenerbahce. However, I'm delighted to announce that on Twitter, the results of you did show that 83% of you didn't want Van Persie to be sold, which surprised me because I thought there'd be more United fans who wanted him out. Personally, I definitely wanted to keep him in. Nick, let's first of all get some opinions on this from the fans before we get our views on it out in the open.
No worries. We've got a quote here from Ricky Red Mank. Too much ability, not quite ready for the knackers yard yet, can still do a job. Even if it's just for one more season, I definitely agree with that. I'm another one who didn't want him to go. I don't understand the United fans that did want him to go, because what else is out there right now that's available that is just as good or if not better than him?
Very good question. Cogsy666 said he's still got more to offer with us. With the right service, he would still score plenty of goals. Again, agree with that, because we've had this conversation before, Nick. Service was an issue for our strikers.
QPR.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, what's he supposed to do with nothing?
Yeah, this is it. So, I mean, that's been an issue throughout the whole season that needs to be addressed. So it's a very good point. Series 1 says, knowing how close Louis and Robin are and believing he's available to go, it's probably time for him to leave now. He was one of the few people that thought he should go. Interesting one. I mean, let's open this up. What were your thoughts on Van Persie?
I've got 3 issues why I didn't want him to leave. First and foremost, what else is out there? That was the most important issue. There's obviously the Cavani's of this world, the Higuains, not proven in the Premier League, none of them. Only a few years younger than him. A lot of money they'll cost if we want to buy them. The second issue I have is he fits in well with Van Gaal. He gets on well with him. They're both Dutch. They get on. They could work well together.
Well, they did get on well.
Oh yeah, you have to imagine.
Supposedly falling apart now, but
yeah, but you'd have to imagine. But they were very close.
And your third issue?
I just think you can't really judge the guy. People are saying his legs are gone, but he's had 2 poor seasons, and we had one under Moyes, which I don't even contemplate that season. I just write that one off completely. I do not judge him for that at all. Every single player was poor. Last season was a transitional season, and again we have the issue we didn't create any chances. Falcao couldn't score. So
there was injuries as well to him, which obviously has been a long-going issue with Van Persie. But injury hit for the last 2 seasons again. That's obviously made him suffer. He's not been given a chance always by Van Gaal as well, but he still scored 12 under Moyes and 10 even with injuries this season.
Yeah.
I thought personally he had more of a job to do, but my biggest concern is that leaves us then with Rooney, Hernandez and Wilson.
Well, back to the Fergie days, they always said they had a special training schedule to cater for RVP, his body and the way he was adapting to it. Moyes come along, threw that in the bin and just started doing his own thing, and RVP got injured constantly. What I don't understand is, when that stupid idiot came along, why did he not just keep the exact same schedule that Fergie had so he could stay fit instead of changing it all and injuring the player?
It's a fair point. I mean, it seems like most people certainly agree that a new striker is needed, though, with Van Persie on his way out. So we asked you which striker of those who've been linked with that you'd like. Let's hear from the fans on this, on their thoughts again, Nick, on who they wanted to bring in.
Okay, well, we got Darren Hazard. He said, I'd take Kareem. I think he means Benzema if he was available. He's a top striker. I like Kane as well, but he could be one season wonder, which is always a risk. Needs another to see how he does, and it probably wouldn't increase his value that much. If he has another 30-plus season, then we could go in for him. He's the real deal.
Yeah, good point. Kane seems to be mentioned a lot. Series 1's mentioned him. Big C75. Kane seems to be the player at the top of people's list.
He'd be my number 1 target. I think, like I mentioned, there's a lot of decent centre-backs in the market at the moment. There's a lot of top goalkeepers. There's a lot of decent centre midfielders knocking about. There isn't a lot of top strikers knocking about. Obviously, you got Lacazette, you got Higuain, you got Cavani. They're possibly all available if we pay the right fee. You got Muller. Is he really an out-and-out striker? I've got question marks over it. I think Kane, he's 21. He's built for the Premier League. He's a tall lad. It costs a lot of money, but at 21, I think he's worth the risk. And I don't think he's a one-season wonder. I
think it's a gamble, but I think it's a sensible one. He seems to have everything about his game.
Well, just one thing that I threw earlier on Twitter, you might have seen. West Brom, they're rumoured to be interested in Evans. You know where I'm going straight away. I just seen you squirm a bit. Obviously, we look like we're going to lose Hernandez and RVP, so that leaves us with Wilson and Rooney. Would you be happy if we went into a season with Rooney, Kane, Wilson and Berahino as our front four strikers. Take into account, we'd possibly only play one at a time.
Not at all, no. I wouldn't be happy whatsoever with that. Reason being is, I know we're not going to be challenging for the Champions League this season, but we need to be progressing. We need to be showing that we're still a big club. And I think Harry Kane is enough of a gamble. You need someone of RVP's experience. You mentioned a couple there. How many are available, I don't know.
This is the issue I have. Don't get me wrong, I agree with what you're saying, and I'd rather have someone else than Berahino, but I'm being realistic. I don't want Cavani. I think 50 million is what he'd cost, and he's not worth it. Higuain, I thought we'd get him for around 35 million, but looking at his crazy president quotes, I don't think we'd get him for anything near that. I think he could 45 plus. I don't think he's worth that. Harry Kane, you're talking 40, 45 million. Berahino, apparently West Brom want Evans. We could have from Evans, say, plus 5 million.
I think if you're getting rid of Wilson on loan, not an issue. Berahino could be the young prospect. Harry Kane, no issue with.
15 goals Berahino got last year.
Absolutely not a problem with either of the two strikers. I just think the four as a whole, if you're looking at that against some of Europe's elites, I'm not saying we're going to be challenging up there with them, but even in the Premier League, I'd be pretty worried about that.
I wouldn't be.
I'm just really concerned. RVP, if we're selling him, which he looks very much like we are, where is the replacement? We need like for like. We don't need youngsters coming through right now.
I disagree. I could go in with that risk. I don't think it'd bother me. If we create more chances, the likes of Rooney, Kane, Berahino, they would finish them.
Well, get your thoughts in on that. Keep them coming in on whether you'd be happy with that as a front four. Just one final thing we mentioned on the fan takeover this week before we move on to a caller that we have on this week's show. Is that some people on Twitter were suggesting we could compete for the league, keeping hold of the current strike force, i.e. if Van Persie, by some miracle, was to stay. So the final question we asked you is, do you think United could challenge for the title if we kept the current centre-forward lineup? This one did divide fans a little bit. Nick, just rack through some of the thoughts from the fans on this one.
I think we've got Alex Axer, 23. As Ruvi and RVP are so hit and miss with their form, I'd prefer a new striker anyway after losing Falcao, so I don't think they're going to win the league with them.
And C. Clay, 1978 United, said, would love Muller, wouldn't we all? But if RVP, Rooney and Hernandez were to stay, he'd be happy with that as well. It's an interesting one, this. I mean, obviously, with Van Persie looking more than likely to be going, it sort of the question loses a bit anyway. But, I mean, if we had kept Van Persie and that was our front four, Van Persie, Rooney, Hernandez, Wilson, do you genuinely think we could have challenged with that?
It's a question you've got to approach from different angles. If we strengthen in other areas and keep that, then yeah, we can definitely challenge. The main issue we had last season was chances. We weren't creating enough.
So let's talk about that. In terms of creativity then, we're linked with Schneiderlin as the midfielder. Who's going to be the creative input next season then?
In our team?
Differently from what we've had.
You'd have to have a look at Di Maria having a second season. You'd have to show the form he's shown in Copa America. Depay coming in looks a really exciting player. Schneiderlin himself would create stuff. You know, he's done it at Southampton. Herrera would probably be the main spark in our midfield, and Carrick would be sitting there with the calming influence that he is.
Okay. Well, this is an interesting one then. It's a first for the Chronicles, but we've asked the other week if any fans would be interested to come on. So please give us a call, get involved, and we'll give you some questions to answer. So we've got our first fan phone in this week regarding the centre-forward debate. I'm delighted to say we've got David on the line, who's going to have a quick chat with us. David, can you hear us?
I can indeed, yes. Hello.
Hello there. Thanks for joining us on the show this week. So we're chatting centre-forwards, David. Bit of a debate that's been sparked by Van Persie being on his way out. Now, I don't know if you just heard there some of the, some of the fans' thoughts that we've had on some of the questions this week there, but I'll just fire this at you firstly. With regards to Van Persie, looks like he is on his way to Fenerbahce. You happy with that, or would you have kept Van Persie?
I'd have kept him, but only as a squad player, to be honest. I don't think he's reliable enough now, fitness-wise, to have him as our main striker. I think, look at this season, he's been in and out with injuries. As he gets older, more and more of them niggling injuries will come in, and I think if we do want to be seriously competing with the best of them in the top four, then we need another striker to sort of lead the line, really.
So do you think Wayne Rooney is our main man then for next season, or do you think we need to bring in someone ready-made to take that role?
I do like Rooney up front, but I would like to see somebody come in. I think Van Persie is ultimately an out-and-out striker. With Rooney, I'm not sure he is. I do like it. He seems to drop back more and more as he gets frustrated in the game. He wants to get involved. He drops back to midfield, leaves up front a bit isolated. I do like Harry Kane. I'd like to see him come in. But it's just the price tag of 40 million after one good season seems a bit much, really.
It is a gamble. I mean, Nick, just to pick up on something that David was just mentioning there, Wayne Rooney, which, of course, you know, we all know your thoughts on Wayne Rooney.
I've got a long-standing issue with him, yeah. Okay.
David was just saying there, obviously, about Rooney, when he's frustrated in a game, will drop back, more midfield role, go looking after, you know, looking for the ball rather than looking up top.
Yep.
If you're playing a 4-3-3, which we imagine Van Gaal will, where we're playing one striker, and if that striker is Rooney, do you not worry that we're going to end up more of a false nine with the way Rooney plays?
I think that's a lot of the problems we had last season. I think that's why we weren't creating enough. I don't rate him anymore. I think he's a good player, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying he's a bad player, but I don't think we're going to win the league with Wayne Rooney up front. You look at City, they've got Aguero. Chelsea have got Costa. Like, is Rooney as good as them two?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's a long way off, in my opinion. I mean, David, Nick was just mentioning about Berahino as a potential, as well as Harry Kane, perhaps as the younger sort
Obviously not starting 11.
Yeah, of course, but as a player coming through. Any thoughts on where Berahino would stand with yourself?
Well, Berahino, obviously, had a great start to the season, looked brilliant. Then, all of a sudden, he had a spell of, say, 5 games, so he did very little. So, I wouldn't like to see him as the only purchase in terms of up front. It'd be nice.
That'd be shocking.
But the only worry is as well is attitude. You hear a lot of stories, don't you?
This was something I was going to talk about.
This was another issue we had with him.
He seems like he could be of the same ilk as the likes of Rafael
Morrison. If you noticed
Morrison.
as well, when he went off the boil, it was when he got linked with the Liverpools and the Man Uniteds of this world. That's when he just suddenly started not scoring for West Brom.
Yeah, it was an interesting one. That I don't know. It's I mean, with Kane and Berahino together, is it too big a gamble for someone like United to take?
One of the main reasons I mentioned Berahino was obviously West Brom value him quite highly, and I wouldn't pay that in cash for him. But they want Evans, who we apparently value around 10 million. No idea why.
It's phenomenal, isn't it?
So I reckon throw Evans at him with a bit of cash, say 5 million. They might be tempted.
Okay. Well, just to end, David, quick question for yourself. Looking forward to the season coming. How do you see it going for United? What's your predictions for us for next season?
Realistically, I don't think we'll be competing for the title. I think Chelsea and City in particular have got far more than we have. I think top 4 is a realistic ambition again. Champions League, I'd like to see us at least get to the quarter-final, go on a bit of a run. But I don't think, unless there's some serious movements in the transfer window from now until the start of the season, I really can't see us competing for the league at the moment.
Sad but true, isn't it?
I totally agree with you, mate.
Yeah, completely agree, sadly.
Miles away.
Yeah, it's a shame. And this is why I think when you look at United's transfer policy at the moment, it seems like we're not going in for the top-class players anymore. We need the real top-bracket players if we're going to get back to where we are, or we're going to end up in a position, dare I say it, like Liverpool.
5-6 years ago, when David Gill was here and Fergie was here, we would have gone in for Ramos, we would have got him. And De Gea would have stayed. That's the change that we've had at United. That's how we've evolved over the last 5 or 6 years.
One last quick thing to mention on that, because we talked about this earlier on in the show, David. Your thoughts on Ed Woodward? Is he the man that the buck stops at when it comes to United's lack of activity so far?
Well, I think so, yeah. One point that was raised to me recently is that Adidas Takeover as our shirt sponsors on the 1st of August. And obviously at the minute, you'll see the likes of Depay when he's signing, his picture's being taken with the current United Nike shirt. Now, if they're putting like however many million in, something I heard is that perhaps there are deals going on, but they're waiting until August when the pictures can be taken with the new Adidas shirt. So there might be a bit more transfer action then, so we'll see what happens then. We
certainly thought that the Adidas thing was quite a ridiculous rumour, to be honest with you. That was our thoughts. As you mentioned, Depay signing, holding up his Nike United shirt. Surely if it was that big an issue, he was only announced as signed for us on the 12th of June. So you'd have thought, Adidas might have stuck their heels in on that one as well. But interesting thoughts. Interesting thoughts, David. And, thanks ever so much for being the first caller into the show. Hopefully we'll have many more to come. And you'd be welcome to call us back if you have any thoughts on anything we've got to say in the coming weeks. Please, by all means, do give us a call.
Will do.
Thanks a lot, David. Now, I'm delighted to say we've been joined by a second caller on the line to get involved in this week's fan takeover. Just having a chat through, and he's one of the regulars on our page, actually contributed towards the debate earlier on. We've got Chris on the line. So, Chris, welcome to the show.
Good evening, guys. How you doing?
Yeah, very well.
How's it going, mate?
You're good?
Yeah, not bad.
Brilliant. Thanks very much for coming on. Appreciate you taking the time out to speak to us. So, Chris, we read out one of your tweets that came in earlier regarding the debate about whether we could challenge for the title with the current strikers, in which you said you'd love Muller, of course, but if Van Persie, Rooney and Hernandez were all to stay, you'd be happy with that as well. Now, of course, as I'm sure you've been following on Twitter, Robin Van Persie looks ever the more likely to be on his way to Fenerbahce, so let's cover him first. Are you happy with Van Persie being sold, or did you want him to stay?
It all depended on whether we've got cover coming in. I think his record when he first signed for United was absolutely unbelievable. But, you know, everybody knows his injuries at Arsenal and United have limited him to appearances. So would he have been playing for United on a regular basis next season?
I mean, if he wasn't playing, Chris, who was out the current sort of strikers we've got, who would you be playing ahead of Van Persie?
Well, there's probably only Rooney, really, but I've always been a fan of Hernandez. I know you guys aren't, but
yeah.
He scored goals for United when we've needed them, and I just think if we continue to play with Fellaini as like an attacking threat, you know, lobbing the ball up to him, I think Hernandez could have had a degree of success with that.
Possibly. I mean, I've no issue with Hernandez's impact coming off the bench for us, certainly. As you say, he's got a number of big goals. I don't debate that at all. I just worry, when you look at, what United need to achieve, we need to be a successful
overall involvement,
team.
Isn't it?
I just don't think he's top class.
He lacks involvement in the game. He'll score off his shin or just
does,
back of his head, but he doesn't. We need players who affect the match. You look at Aguero, you look at Van Persie in 2012-2013 season. He could change games, and I just don't think Hernandez has got that in him. I'd keep him as a squad player. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah. Are those strikers available?
It's an interesting one. I mean, we'll move on to that. I mean, in your mind, Chris, I mean, who would you sign if we were getting rid of Van Persie?
Well, like I've said in a couple of tweets, and I think we even discussed it maybe at the very beginning of the transfer window, at the very beginning of the summer, Muller. I know he didn't play out-and-out striker for Munich, but, his international goal-scoring record...
Yeah, that's my only issue with him, the fact he's not an out-and-out forward, but I think he'd be brilliant for us.
I made this point to you, though, Nick.
VP.
As Chris just picked up on, though, Bayern Munich, you're absolutely right, Chris, don't use him as their out-and-out number 9. But Germany, as you just alluded to there, at national level, he plays as their out-and-out striker. And as you say, look at his goal-scoring record in those two World Cups.
I think international level is better than the Bundesliga too.
Absolutely, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think maybe with the way that United may play next year, with 3 behind the 1, if the one's Rooney, then you've got Depay on one side, maybe Mata and Muller. If they can interchange, I think...
Brilliant, yeah.
Sounds ideal to us.
How much would you be willing to pay for him, Chris? Realistically,
well, isn't the talk of a Di Maria swap deal going on?
Yeah, there's been some ridiculous ones. I mean, what I read, Chris, is 59 million, something in the region of that. We've put in a bid for Muller that's supposedly been rejected. But I mean, if it came to it, if you were talking Di Maria plus cash for Muller, would you be happy with that?
On Di Maria's performances last year, yes, but I would like to see him stay at United.
You've got to look at his Copa America performances. Di Maria.
I think he's still got a future.
I definitely do.
I don't think he's done yet.
I mean, as things currently stand, Chris, obviously we've been very shy in the market for one reason or another. We were just speaking to David.
You mean one reason?
Well, we were just speaking to David about this, and I want to get your view on it, because we're probably going to get peppered when our views come out on this. Ed Woodward is our reason, we think, as you're more than aware from watching Ed Watch on the Red Devil Chronicles.
Wonderful hashtag.
Thank you very much. I'll make sure to keep making. But what are your thoughts on United? Is it just down to Woodward? Are we being too simplistic?
I think we got in a massive comfort zone with Ferguson and his backroom staff. I can't remember his name. Is it Kenyon first and then Peter Gill?
David Gill we had.
Yeah,
David Gill, and
David Gill was superb, yeah.
And I think we just got in a massive comfort zone with them guys. I think, because obviously it's new manager, relatively new chairman and board, I think we're just finding
It's
our
not
level,
gelling
so.
together. Yeah,
It isn't. No, and I think we were just in a massive comfort zone.
Well, if you look at David
Well,
Gill,
and as well as winning titles, that helps.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Above all, yeah. But if you look at David Gill as well, he's now, I think he's going for UEFA presidency or something. What's he like?
FIFA
presidency.
It could get it, couldn't it?
Yeah, and he's the ex-chief exec.
It says it all about the standard of David Gill.
It shows the level he was at.
Yeah. What we've replaced him with is terrible, in my opinion.
He's just a businessman, Edward.
Well, yeah.
He's a banker with a B.
I think, like you said last night, if he can pull Muller off, I think I'll knight him alongside you.
I'd be very happy with him. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, we did say that. If he brings Muller in, we'll gladly knight him.
I'd buy him a pint of 3.
I'd pay for his night out, as I said. More than happy to do so. Just one final thing, Chris, because you've given us an idea for our feature that we're running with at the end of the show, the dedicated transfer talk. You mentioned during the fan takeover that we were having a chat through. If a dream sort of signing or a dream summer were to come through, what would that dream summer be? We're going to answer that during the transfer talk part of it, but with you asking the question, what's your dream summer?
Ronaldo, one answer.
You'd be happy with just Ronaldo?
If Ronaldo came back, that's a dream.
To be fair, I'd be happy with that, even if we didn't win the league.
Exactly.
I mean, we got asked this by Will, if I remember rightly, a couple of weeks ago during the fan takeover. If we just signed Ronaldo, would that be enough to win us the league? Now we both said no, Nick. No. So can you realistically be happy with that if we're not going to win the league?
It's just more individual happiness than the club. I'd be happy just to see Ronnie back.
Individual happiness.
Would it not lift the players around him?
Yeah.
Well, arguably, yeah.
Definitely.
I mean, you'd hope so, wouldn't you?
It'd lift me.
I mean, with Will's point that we had our say on, I mean, do you think if we did just buy Ronaldo, Chris, if that miracle came off, that we would win the league?
I think we need a midfielder as well.
Yeah.
And which midfielder that's going to be, only Ed knows.
Well, I don't think he does.
Knows, yeah.
That was tongue-in-cheek, guys.
Absolutely. Well, it's been a real pleasure having you on, Chris. And
cheers, thanks, guys.
Please keep contributing to the page. We enjoy the debates.
Always.
And if you want to come on and talk anything else with us, you're more than welcome to return.
Welcome. No worries. Always. Thanks very much, guys.
Thanks a lot, Chris. Take care.
Have a good show.
And you.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
And so next up then, having had a chat through what the fans think about what's currently been going on in the market, we're going to have a chat with our very own Dodgy Dave and see what he thinks regarding United's most important players for next season and some more. I've no idea what that was. I've genuinely no idea what that was. Apparently, though, that is the intro for Dodgy Dave. He's coming on to have a quick chat through a couple of topics with us, see what he's got to say for himself for this week. Dave, welcome to the show.
How's it going, Dave?
Hello, I'm good. Was that a little bit of Oriental music with my Chinese heritage I heard?
I think it was, yeah. It was the most bizarre thing I've ever heard, to be honest with you. But
it was quite beautiful. We had a moment there, Dawber, where we caught each other's eyes over the music and very romantic.
Yeah, it was beautiful. Like some candles in here. But, producer Joe picked that one for you.
Oh, thank you. Thanks a lot, Joe.
I thought we were going for a new angle, so...
Yeah, cheers for that.
Let's kick off with the out-of-season games that you're playing, first of all, on a non-competitive level. Well, supposedly. Of course, you've got the Power League team, Hangover 96. Dave, I believe you recorded your first win last night. Congrats.
Yeah, thank you. Second win. First win where the other teams actually turned up.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah. 13-4 victory. I played the first half in net. Had a stellar performance.
Did very well, Dave.
Yeah, well, Nick's obviously trying to fish for me to say the same thing.
I don't need you to say that, Dave. I know I played well.
Yeah, no, you're that arrogant that you think you're the best player anyway, so...
Yeah, Hangover 96's very own Mario Balotelli speaking.
Thank you.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
Let's talk...
Continue, sorry.
I was just going to say, let's talk about some professional footballers for real, shall we? Obviously, you, on a regular basis, follow Arsenal when you're not following other clubs. And obviously we follow United. So let's have a quick chat through, because obviously United and Arsenal, it's looking like are going to be, seriously going at it for...
third and fourth.
Probably third and fourth, realistically, yeah. But obviously it's going to be quite a heated battle. Arsenal seem to be picking up some good players so far, and certainly linked with some more good players. In your opinion, Dave, as the Arsenal lineup currently stands at the moment, who would you say is going to be Arsenal's most important player for next season, in your opinion?
Check.
Well, first of all, third and fourth. Arsenal are going for the title.
Of course.
You're going for fourth. Arsenal are going for first. Most important player, though. Czech's obviously a really good signing. John Terry said I think he's going to be worth 12, 15 points.
It's ambitious, but yeah.
So, based on that, we're going to win the league. If you look at last year, nobody wants Chelsea to win it because they're boring. Arsenal are entertaining. Czech's going to be important, but I think Sanchez and I think Ramsey. I think Ramsey with his unbelievable tackers.
Not Danny Welbeck?
Huh?
Danny Welbeck?
Danny Welbeck, yeah, he's a stellar 3-goal a season man, isn't he? He's what you need up top.
Yeah, he's exactly what you're after.
Yeah.
Let's talk. I know you obviously hate United. It's become fairly apparent. But who would you say United's most important player is for next season in trying to battle up against Arsenal and the like?
Probably Michael Carrick, to be fair.
If we brought in Morgan Schneiderlin, if we beat you to his signature, would you say Schneiderlin becomes instantly more important, or do you still rely on Carrick over him?
I think you still rely on Carrick. You're all kidding yourselves thinking you want Schneiderlin when really you wanted Schweinsteiger. And you've ended up with Schneiderlin.
We've ended up with neither at the moment, Dave.
Well, yeah, no, but you're going to end up with Schneiderlin, aren't you? But you're just kidding yourselves thinking that you wanted him all along, but really you wanted Schweinsteiger.
Wouldn't surprise me if we got both, Dave.
Oh, really?
Give us some credit, to be fair, Dave. We've been harking on about Schneiderlin since sort of April, May time before the season ended. He's a really good player. He's done it in the big games. I don't see what your issue with him is. If he came to Arsenal, you'd love him, surely.
Since April and May? I've heard you talking about Schweinsteiger since March.
Can we edit that out?
Forget about that bit.
I'll tell you what, if you get Schweinsteiger, Arsenal are going to get Benzema.
Well, we're not getting Schweinsteiger then.
I'll put money on that. I'll put money on that.
All right,
yeah, we'll take you up on that.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
Yeah.
Is that a recorded bet live on air?
This is recorded.
Just turn.
Do not gamble, guys. It's bad for you.
£1 bet. £1 fish. £1 bet.
All right, £1 fish it is. So if we get Schweinsteiger, you're getting Benzema.
Yeah.
I don't know how the deals are linked, but that's the magic that is Dodgy Dave.
That's Dave's connection.
If Schweinsteiger comes to United, Benzema's going to Arsenal, obviously.
I'm just saying. That's just saying about how unlikely they are.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll go with that. We'll take the bet on. Yeah, we'll take the bet on. Yeah, see what happens.
Does that mean he gets £2 off us too if we fail, and we only get £1 off him? How does it work?
No, it's £1 each.
Oh, okay, that's okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if Dave knew that.
He does now.
Yeah, you're not getting paid for this podcast yet. I know money's tight. You can put 50p in.
Who put 50p in you, Dave?
You hopefully.
It's a decent hourly rate.
It is very decent. Let's end with the usual feature at the end of Dodgy Dave. Have you got a story of the week for us, Dave?
Story of the week. Nothing really springs to mind. I know when I was walking home through town, I think the hot weather's getting to a few people. Walking through Manchester City Centre, loads of weirdos wandering around Piccadilly Gardens at the best of times. I saw someone yesterday. There was an African man playing some bongo drums, and a guy who looked like he'd stepped out of an episode of Shameless, wearing nothing but a pair of white fronts, doing some very strange interpretive dancing to it. I was going to take a photo, but he caught me trying to take a photo, and it all got a little bit awkward, so I tried to run away, and he sort of came after me a bit.
Cheers, Dave.
So then, let's end the show as we always do with our dedicated transfer talk. Not a great deal of it this week, if we're honest, but one player that stands out especially for us that we talked about during the fan takeover, of course, is Thomas Muller. Now, it's all rumour at the moment, Nick, but where are you standing on Thomas Muller as things stand?
Purely speculation right now. I don't think there's anything concrete knocking about. Obviously, I'd love the player. Don't get me wrong. I think he'd be brilliant signing for us. I think he's in the same. I mentioned it before. He's in the same sort of mould as Van Persie, so he could be an ideal replacement. We mentioned obviously he plays up front for Germany, and his record's incredible. Fee touted around 60 million, is it?
Yeah, supposedly rejected as well. I mean, what are your thoughts on that? Do you think they've actually rejected it? Do you think a bit's even gone in?
No.
Because as things currently stand, there have been rumours that Ed tried to start talks with Bayern Munich. Those talks were completely flatline no. But Ed has apparently flown out. I mean, how true this is, but he's apparently flown out to Munich to talk with the CEO of Bayern regarding the Muller deal. I mean, you know, is he the sort of player that could replace Van Persie?
Yeah.
Is he that good?
Yeah, he could. I've watched him in the Champions League a lot. Obviously, I don't watch the Bundesliga as much, so I can't judge on that. But from what I've seen in the Champions League, he's played in numerous positions. I've seen him playing centre midfield at one point. He's played on the wing. He's even been thrown up front, which is where I'd see his future lying if he came to United. Do I believe United have bid 60 million for him? No chance. I think 60 million is an awful lot of money. I don't think he's worth that particularly. Maybe 50 at a push, if in the current inflated market that we deal with. But 60 million is insane.
It certainly looks unlikely to happen, but slightly more likely than the rumour that he's been included in this summer.
That's comical.
It's incredible, this one. Bayern Munich to offer Robben and Muller in exchange for Di Maria plus cash. Now, this was reported. This is crazy. BBC Sports official Twitter actually reported this after it was posted, I believe, by a fake build account. First of all, Nick, is it the funniest rumour you've ever heard?
No, it's not the funniest I've ever heard. It's one of the poorest rumours I've ever heard, if you believe it. Obviously, if you look at the players that we'd get, Robben and Muller. Robben's 32 in January, so he's not long term, but I'd have him straight away on a 2-3 year deal easily. Muller's 25, I'd do that, but I don't want to lose Di Maria, if I'm being honest with you. So.
Let's say Ed pulls this off, right? Let's say at the end of this summer, Di Maria is on his way plus a bit of cash, and we get Robben and Muller. How happy would you be with that anyway? I'd
be slightly disappointed we've lost Di Maria, but I'd be very happy we've got Robben and Muller. So it'd be it's one of them. It's a 50-50. You know, it's best of both worlds. I don't think it's going to happen.
There's absolutely no chance that's ever going to happen.
Of course not. But I wouldn't be disappointed, but I wouldn't be overexcited. It's just one of them. I'd be like, oh yeah, great.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's move on to some players that we thought could be realistic, but maybe even they're not realistic either. Sergio Ramos and Nicolas Otamendi, both supposedly huge targets for United this summer. I mean, firstly, Nick, do you think either of them will actually end up coming to Old Trafford?
I think one of them is.
Do you?
Yeah, hand on heart, I think one of them is coming.
And if you had the choice, Ramos versus Otamendi, who are you going with?
Ramos. My personal choice. I don't understand I've said it previous weeks, there's negativity towards him. He's won everything you can win in football. He's 29, he's at the best part of his career. He wants one final payday. If there's any chance that we can get him, no matter how small, Ed Woodward's got to be in there and we've got to get him in. Obviously, Otamendi's a brilliant defender, don't get me wrong. He'd be my second choice by a million miles. So I wouldn't be upset if Otamendi came. I'd be equally as thrilled. But if Sergio Ramos is available, you have to push.
Is Ramos that much better that he's worth the extra outlay that we're talking?
Yeah.
Because it's big money.
Yeah, he is that much better.
Because don't get me wrong, I really like Ramos and I'd gladly have him in. I just think at 35 compared to, I don't know how high we're going to go, 50, 60 million with Ramos maybe?
I think 50 million is where they'd probably Madrid would consider selling. Like the player, if you believe the reports, I don't think he's coming personally, but if you believe the reports, he wants to leave. 29 centre back, 50 million. If you're Florentino Perez, you'd probably get rid. So we know the price of Otamendi because his release clause. It's 36, 37 million, something like that.
Yeah, 35 for Otamendi.
It's 35, it's even cheaper. Yeah, so they're both brilliant defenders, don't get me wrong. Otamendi was the best one last season, but again, he's had one good season. Sergio Ramos has been doing it for 10 years.
Absolutely. I mean, the cynics that are inside us, of course, said we'll probably miss out on either of them.
And get Ron Vlaar.
Ron Vlaar, concrete Ron at the back, yeah. Let us know your thoughts on that. Ramos or Otamendi?
I'd be happy with both.
Oh, well, of course you would.
It's a nice argument to have.
It's a lovely one, if it comes off anyway. Now, these sort of rumours have certainly got people talking on Twitter. Chris, that we spoke to during the fan takeover at CClay 1978 United, came up with an idea for us to talk about. He said if you were to have one sort of dream come true this summer for next season, what would it be? So we're going to have a quick chat about dream summers in terms of ins and outs. We'll go with yours first of all, Nick. Dreams ins and dreams out.
My dream in would be to keep De Gea, sign Ramos, sign Schneiderlin. Obviously, we've got Dami and Depay in the bag, and probably get Kane up front. If we got that this summer, I would be ecstatic. I don't care if Dave didn't sign a new contract extension and we lost him next summer, but if he stayed this summer and we got the people I've just mentioned, then I'd be thrilled.
I can't say I disagree with any of that. I genuinely think
maybe Berahino with
stop with Berahino. But other than Berahino, I certainly agree with that. In response to your question, Chris, surprisingly, me and Nick agree on something in its entirety.
Lee Cattermole?
No. The one out for me, the big out, please, Johnny Evans to West Brom.
Yeah, if that means we'll drive him there.
If that means we have to get Berahino, fine, not an issue.
I just think
do it.
If you throw Evans plus 5 million and he comes, and it's a good buy. His potential's there in it. So.
Absolutely. This is going to be part of the next week's fan takeover on the podcast. Let us know what your dream summer would be. If you were, Ed Woodward. Please,
realistic, obviously.
Yeah, realistic.
Not Messi, Ronaldo.
Obviously, on the on the 8th of August, 7th of August, first season when the season starts
Friday
against
night,
Tottenham.
They're at the hotel. Who do you want in that team?
Who's going to be in the team? Who's going to be in? Who's going to be out? Let us know on Twitter. We're at WeFollowUnited, so get in touch with us. Also, do give us a call if you've got any thoughts on the fan takeover. Let us know on Twitter, but also DM your details. We'll give you a call. Thanks very much for listening. As always, we'll speak to you next week. It's been a great show as always, and thanks very much for all your support.